Okay, before we get into the Frederick notebook, I have a sheet called First Right Hand Warmups. And basically, it's just you're not going to use your left hand. You could put it like right here on the guitar or put it on your knee. But make sure you're holding the guitar really well. What you want to make sure is that you're putting the guitar mainly on your left leg, and your left leg is up on a footstool, or I mean, you could use a pile of books, but until you get a footstool, this is a typical guitar footstool. I've got a rubber band around it so it doesn't fall apart, but it's about the height of a typical ballpoint pen. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Depends on the size of your legs, and you can adjust it to different heights. And I think on Amazon, I would price them somewhere between $10 and $20, and usually, like, you can get a good one for around $15. And you want to make sure it has a lot of different height positions that you might want to experiment with. I usually keep mine on the lowest position, so that if you notice, it's pretty low, with mine. But if you have really long legs, you can push the footstool forward to where your leg is a little more forward, and it won't feel like it's so humped up. You don't want it real humped up, but you want to make sure you're in a good position when you practice. And we're going to have our capo at the 5th fret. Make sure you get a capo. And if you have a classical guitar, which I hope you do, you don't have to, but if you're a beginner, you can do it on a steel string. But the techniques will respond better on a nylon string guitar. But you can get these capos from, now there were some Chinese made ones where I had a student get 2 capos for like around $6 on Amazon.com. But this is a Kaiser capo, which is around $18. So that gives you an idea of the price range. But you want a solid capo. You don't want like one that's made out of molded plastic. And I would avoid the ones that are elastic, that you have to. Some of those are solid. Some of those are okay. They're fine, but there's some cheap ones that you want to avoid, just because don't just buy a capo because it's real cheap. I'd say you're going to at least pay $5 or $6, for a good solid capo. This one's metal, and it just clamps on. It's like a chip clip. You just clamp it on. See if I'll take it off. It might get my guitar out of tune when I take it off and put it back on. And that's one thing. You want to make sure you tune your guitar with the capo on. So with the right arm, you want to rest it usually about where the bridge piece is. Think of that as a sort of a, it doesn't have to be perfectly right there, but and it depends on the length of your arm and that. But you don't want a whole lot of arm over the guitar. A lot of people will kind of do this, and I don't know why, but I always see this every day when I'm teaching, and I have to say, well, wait a minute, put your arm like that, and you want to, maybe as a pre-warm up, lift your hand from the wrist, and then just let it fall like a free fall, and learn to relax like that. So you lift slowly, and then you just let it fall, and think of the weight of your hand. Try to feel that there is some weight there, and it's a balanced weight. It's a lot like if you remember a turntable with a record player, with the needle, and you'd have the needle, the cartridge, and the arm going down on the vinyl record, and it's got a little weight to it, but it's a very balanced kind of weight, and that's the way you want to think of it. Now the stroke we're going to do is the rest stroke, and you want to use the whole extended finger, like move the whole finger. Make sure you're not like swimming the finger like that. It's more like a direct hit. like if I were tapping my guitar like that. But what we're going to do is kind of scoop into the string. We're going to scoop into it and push the string down a little bit. So you'll touch the string, like if you did the index and you touch the string, the first string. By the way, the string that's the closest to the floor is what we're calling the first string. The bass notes up here, that would be the sixth string. This is the first string. So you want to make sure we're on the same page, that you're not thinking that this is the first string. It's the one closest to your face, so you might think that. But it's the highest sounding string is the first string. So anyway, when we pluck a string, we contact the string. If you have nails, you want to make sure that they're tapered from the edge. Now, don't require nails in the beginning, and that's optional for you if you want to try to grow your nails a little bit. Usually, we only want them about 1/16 of an inch above the fingertip if we're looking at our hands like that. If you're facing your fingertips like that, look for about 1/16 of an inch. You need that much. Mine are a little longer, but usually it's because I'm lazy about filing them. So I'm not always on top of that myself. But that's one thing. You know, you can use nails, and when we use nails, we start on the leftmost corner, and you want a smooth nail so that the string follows the edge of the nail until it releases at about the center of the nail. And but without nails, that's okay. You want to, I would say if you don't have nails, then keep them very short until you decide to grow them. Because you don't want them, you know, halfway there, because they'll get in the way and maybe make noise, and your strings will get hung up on the nails if they're too short. But if you just file them completely off, then use the left side of your fingertip to contact the string. You don't want to have a lot of finger, like, you know, put it through the strings like that. You want to be on the tip of the finger. And so now I'm going to start with my middle finger on the first string. And notice when I pluck, I'm using the whole finger, keeping my hand steady. You don't want to rake the hand like that. I see some beginners fall into that. It's like they keep everything stiff and they're just raking the hand to pluck the string. You want to keep your hand steady and just push into the string like that. And what we're going to do on these first warm-ups is play slowly, and we're going to do just one finger 4 times, like the middle finger 4 times, and then the index finger 4 times, and then the middle again. The middle is kind of the centered finger, and then the ring finger, which we call the A finger. And you'll see on the page, you'll see M, 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 I, M, 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 A, A. And that's just to review what our fingers are. The terminology is, they're Spanish terms for, like the thumb is P for pulgar, I for indicio, M for medio, and A for annular. And those are Spanish names for the fingers. So it's P-I-M-A, P being the thumb. But we're not going to use the thumb for quite a few lessons. I would just keep the thumb hanging out. Don't rest it on the guitar. I see that a lot too. And actually with the rest stroke, when you pluck, you're following through and you're resting on the next string. And that supports the weight of your hand, so you don't feel like you've got to plant your thumb on the top of the guitar or put the heel of your hand down like that. You want actually the wrist to be at least level with the highest of your big knuckles or a little bit higher. Not real humped up, you know, but just a little bit higher or at least equal with your knuckles. So now on the page, this is the first time, if you've never read music, we're learning 3 notes. And the music staff is common to all instruments. Like if you were playing a clarinet, a flute, a violin, we would all be using this, what we call a treble clef, which is really a fancy G. We call it the treble clef or G clef. And E is the first string open. Now with the capo, it's not really E, it's A, but we're pretending it's E, okay? So we're going to call it E. We're just using the capo to help to avoid big stretches right now. And it's just a training device, but we're pretending that this is E. So don't let that mess you up. You know, it's not really E, but we're calling it E. So this is E open, and then the second string is B open. Now I should have mentioned E open on the music staff. You'll see a black note head and a stem. Don't pay much attention to the stem. It's just showing you that it's a quarter note. It's a black note head. Look at where the black note head is, and it's on that top space of the treble clef. And that's this E, okay? So if it's anywhere but the top space, it's not an E. The top space is E. So learn to recognize that with your eyes. And then if you look at the second line, we go to the B string. And also on the sheet, I've got it labeled E open first string. And you're doing E through that whole line. And then on the second line, the black note head is in the center line of the staff on the second system there, and that's a B, and we're playing the second string open. When I say open, that means I'm not fretting frets. So that's stopping the string when you fret frets. See, and when you're just playing the string without the left hand, that's open. So all the notes on this page are really just the first 3 open strings. So now onto the G string. If you look at the third system, the third line of notes, it's the second line from the bottom of the music staff. It's on a line, which is the second line from the bottom. So to review, you've got E, which is the top space of the music staff. B is the center line of the music staff. And G is the second line from the bottom. Actually, that G, like I mentioned, we call it a G clef. The loop of the G, the fancy G, which is the treble clef, is crossing that second line from the bottom and defining that line as G. You don't really have to know this, but it's just for your own information. That's why we call it a G clef. In the early days, like in the Renaissance, these clefs were moved around. So they could be moved to where G was the middle line of the staff, but here traditionally G is the second line from the bottom of the staff. Okay? So again, don't worry about learning like 20 notes or learning, I wouldn't even worry about learning all the names of the lines and the spaces on the music staff right now. Just learn these 3 notes for this page, and that's E open, B open, and G open. Okay, so on to the exercise. Now, the first exercise is the first 4 lines of music. It's the long one because we're playing each note 4 times. So we're going to just play the middle finger 4 times repeated. Normally we won't do that. Normally we're going to be alternating like you're walking, like that, middle index, middle index, middle index. But here, since these are very first time we're plucking the string, we're practicing one finger. And I still do that to this day. When I warm up, I might do a different kind of stroke than this. I'm not usually doing rest strokes, but it's nothing for you to worry about. But I still warm up by just playing one finger and then the other finger, and just, it's like Pepe Romero says, you have to, every day, you have to reacquaint yourself with the guitar. It's like almost, it's not starting over again, but you have to reacquaint yourself. And that's very well said, because when we warm up, we want to warm up slowly and be very relaxed and very methodical. Okay, so I'm going to play through exercise 1. I'm not going to do anything with my left hand. I'm just going to keep it up here and do rest strokes. Very important to pluck through the string and rest on the next string. So we start with the middle finger. I think that's sort of the centering finger because it's the longest finger. I usually use the middle finger for accented notes because it has a little more power behind it because it's longer, and the index is shorter. So, but you kind of want to match the tips of the fingers. You don't want to feel like you're reaching with your index. You want a little bit of an arch in your fingers. Don't rake the strings, just push in and relax. Once you've done the stroke, the work's done, you relax. So you're lounging on the next string. You're supporting the weight of the hand on the resting string. Okay? That's why we call it a rest stroke. And in Spanish, they call it apoyando, which means supported stroke. So you're supporting the weight of your hand. Okay, so now I'm finally getting to where I'm going to play this. And we're going to go very slowly. So if you want to play with me, starting at the top, 1, 2, ready, play, now. Middle 4 times, index, back to the middle, and then the A finger, the annular finger. Now onto the second string. I wouldn't even break rhythm, just go right to the next string, index, middle, A finger, and then third string G, to the B string, not the first string, but back to the second string. Can you think of any time in your life when you've had more fun? Some people around you in your house or your dorm, I think I played too many times there, might think you're nuts, but you're just warming up, okay? So it's like a runner, an athlete stretching their legs, stretching their arms, loosening up their shoulders. You're just warming up. Okay, now we're going to go on to number 2, and here we're doing the same thing exactly, except we're just doing each finger 2 times before changing to the next finger. So try it with me. 1, 2. Ready, play. Twice each. Then we go to the second string, B. Third string, G. Back to the second string. It's a circular exercise, sorry. And then middle. And when you finish the second string, you could go back to the first string and repeat the whole exercise, or you could just stop. It might be good to do each of these exercises at least twice. Now, the third one, you're just doing one measure on each string. What I would recommend, and this is the way I'm going to play it, I kind of ran out of space on that page for that third exercise on the page. So I recommend for each student to repeat each measure 2 times. So we're only doing once with each finger. So we're actually alternating the fingers. And when you alternate the fingers, you're going to be going M, I, M, A. You only want the finger that you play. You don't want to keep holding fingers down, and you don't want them all up in the air. You want to have one resting while the other one is ready to play. So it's an immediate exchange of fingers. One's up while the other one's, or 2 of them are up while one of them is rested after playing. So let's try together 2 times on each measure. 1, 2, ready, play. Repeat that measure. Second string, M, I, M, A, M, I, M, A. Third string. Back to the second string. It's okay to look at your hands. You want to, when you're first learning a new technique, it's good to look at what you're doing, because how else are you going to know if you're doing it right? I know there's the old, a lot of the old school piano teachers would say, never look at your hands. But you really want to make sure that you're in good position for playing. And so these are designed to be easy to memorize. So it's okay to memorize them and just watch your right hand, Okay? Now, the next sheet is going to be more of the same, more fun open strings. I know it doesn't sound like much, but again, these are just warm-ups. So you have to kind of meditate, think, think easy going. Don't just rush through these, they won't do you any good. So, but I was going to say the next one, we're going to be alternating mainly middle and index. Actually, that's all we're going to do. We're not going to use the A finger, okay? So these are the first right hand warm-ups. They're, as a beginner, I would recommend doing these every day. Every day, the first thing you do. Just start out M, M. Remember, it's just like rolling off a log. You could be drinking coffee with your left hand, while you're warming up. Just relax and have fun with it. Okay? So subscribe and like my Facebook page, John Hedger Guitar Studio. Thank you.